this is a quick little video. If you have an RB26 or any RB series motor, Boost Factory mentioned this in their video, but they never showed pulling it out. So I'm kind of filling in the void there, but go watch their video. It's a great tutorial and great reasoning of why you should do it. But essentially, this is the oil filter housing of an RB motor. This is an RB26 out of my GTR. And right here, you have a plug in there because the factory oil cooler has a bypass valve in it, so that whenever the pressure gets clogged up, essentially it opens up the valve and oil continues to go through your motor. If you're doing an oil filter relocation like I am, you have to remove this. All I did was took a 1/4 inch drill bit, drilled in there, tacked it in with a TIG welder. Obviously not everybody has that, but if you have the resources to that. And then I went to Harbor Freight, bought a 20-pound slide hammer, put it on the bolt, and first pop, and it pulled out. And that's how you take it out. And then it's a $10 ball valve goes in there. We are installing the Franklin Performance Remote Oil Filter Relocation Kit. And as you can see after this, or before this, depending on how this video goes, is you don't have to. It's recommended that you drill, tap, weld, and pull out the oil relief block off, which is that. That's the new one. It's pressed in there with the 10mm until it bottoms out. And essentially what that does is whenever the oil gets flowing and it senses or pressure builds up that the oil filter is a restriction, it's going to go through that valve and keep going through your block. And I would rather have oil flow, even if it's dirty, through the block than no oil filter, well, no oil essentially for a couple seconds, because it's got to go up to the oil filter, back down, and then through the block if you get a oil filter with a bypass valve in it. So I'm doing it this way. A couple seconds really does matter in case of a catastrophic failure. So yeah, we got this off, and then this is your OEM one. You just take a pair of channel locks, loosen that up, and then you're going to have this one included in the kit. I'm going to put some oil on the threads just to keep it lubed, and some oil on here real quick, so give me 1 second. And as you can see, I just put some assembly lube on there. That's not Loctite, just they're aluminum threads, so keep them moist and keep them going in there nice and easy. And that way it's just lubrication. It's going to get oil on it anyway, so might as well pre-lube it. This is a 17mm. Put it in there until it bottoms out, and then give it a good snug. Now that that's on there, we're going to take some oil, which I got some on the drip pan right here, and we're going to lube this up, even if it's dirty. I'll put some assembly lube on that. Do 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 do. And then you have the Boss adapter, and what we have to do with that is these are the AN fittings. I already put them on. They're not torqued on, but they're just on. And then you have an MPT fitting for oil pressure, oil temp, and you actually have two in case you want to run one on the side and one on here. So oil pressure switch or a secondary oil pressure gauge if you really wanted to. It's a really nice piece. We need to make sure to lube up this O-ring in here because that's going to pop over that, and then lube up this O-ring because it's going to seal against here. And the torque spec for the 4 bolts that mount it is 30 Newton meters. I did it at 18 and then I did it at 30. You can change these out however you want them. You can put 90s on here. You can keep them straight. They also included, this is the oil filter part. So this is where your oil filter will actually mount to. This is the studs that will actually, like where you can mount it to, or your bracket I should say. And then you have 15 degrees, you got 90s. They give you a lot of actually different options, and then they also give you the AN line too. So, real easy video, and that's how you install the Franklin Performance oil filter relocation kit. That's one more thing done. Thanks for watching. Alright, I'm not quite sure where this is going to leave off, but what we're doing now is I just made the pigtail for the low dollar motorsports oil pressure and oil temperature sensor. It's an 1/8 inch MPT fitting, so it will screw right into the Franklin Performance Franklin Performance oil filter block sandwich plate. Did have to cut it. It comes with an 8-foot lead. I cut it about 6 inches, and then use a Deutsch pin connector. It does require a special. Oh, there it is. It does require a Deutsch pin pin crimper, whatever you want to call it. These are expensive, so if you don't have this, I don't know if you can rent one or not, but they are expensive. And we made this harness, and how we pinned it out is you can see there, and if you come over here, is red is 5 volts for, this is pressure, this is temperature, 5 volts power, black is sensor ground, yellow is analog, green is sensor for temperature, yellow is going to be sensor for pressure, and then white is going to be sensor ground. So essentially what we're going to have to do is combine the grounds. That way on the part that is through the firewall, so this harness, this part through the firewall, if you come around through here, I haven't wired it in completely yet because it's right there, but we are going to have to combine the sensor grounds so that way we can get a 4-pin connector to connect into the CAN bus for the wideband, which can be used as like a chain, and the Haltech will read all of that, and they don't really make a 6-pin version, so I'm just going to combine the grounds to the 4-pin. They'll share a ground, signals will be different, that's all that matters. And then yeah, so let me show you guys what we did. Alright, so I don't know how well you can see it, but the OEM sensor is plugged in there too, and then the oil temp sensor is right there, so that way all the factory gauges are going to be retained. And then that spot right there where it says MPT is where that gauge is going to go. I have to put some thread tape on that top plug so it doesn't leak, and all those do have thread tape on it. After that's done, we can go ahead and hook our AN lines up. Or actually I should probably do the AN lines now because that's going to get in the way. But we just took the boost solenoid bracket, which is this guy. Usually it mounts like that, and we took that off since we're not going to need anything there. And I cleaned up the harness. I do have to get a jumper apparently, which I didn't know about, for the fuel injector solenoid or resistor pack, which is this, and that is on the back of that solenoid thing. You have to get a resistor jumper to delete this, since I'm running ID 1000s. Didn't know that, but Wiring Specialties has that. And then we can plumb the AN lines to right there, and we'll have an oil filter relocation kit. It's nothing fancy, and I'm kind of overdoing the whole fancy thing, like it just needs to work. And I made a little bracket. I'm going to redo this in like 1/8 inch or 3/16 material. I mean, yeah, because this is only, I want to say 16th inch material, and it's just a little wobbly. So, but it's on there. It ain't going nowhere. It's just going to wobble a little bit until I redo it, so that's fine. And now we have to do the AN lines from there to there. Put the oil sensor on. I have to route that harness, which is right there, all the way there. I'm just going to zip tie it to the main harness and then route it down underneath, and that'll be sufficient. And yeah. Alright, it's like 1,000 degrees outside, and we just made the AN lines for the oil filter relocation kit, and it's really important to make sure that the out feed, which is coming out of the block, goes to the inlet on the, I guess, sandwich plate, and then the out of the sandwich plate goes to the in of the block adapter on the actual block. I may be getting terminology backwards, but don't put out to out and in to in, or else you will get zero oil pressure, and we don't want to do that. So, but it's nothing crazy. Like I said, it's not a show car, it just needs to work. So that one goes to the top outlet, which is the out, comes in to the in, and then the out feed comes down right there and back into the in. Now I have to put the oil pressure sensor right there, and if you can see, I already ran the harness, which is right here. So, boop, boop. It's too hot to be doing this, but it needs to get done, so let's keep going.